Hey, so I just finished reading our first portion of the B90 Bible in 90 Days reading plan. Genesis chapter 1, so the very beginning, until chapter 16, verse 16. So it takes us from the very beginning of the story, the creation stories, towards the flood narrative with Noah and the ark, to some of the origin stories like the Tower of Babel. Babel. Then it takes us to the beginning of the story of Abraham and his call from one end of the Fertile Crescent and Ur of the Chaldeans up to Haran and down into the Promised Land, and to the birth of his first son Ishmael. So it's quite a whirlwind, and there's just three things I want to emphasize for you in what we have read so far.
Number one.
When in chapter 1, verse 27, God created humankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. So this is a really big deal in the ancient world. A lot of cosmologies, origin stories of creation, did not have this kind of positive image of humanity. In a lot of them, human beings are regarded as underlings for the gods, as kind of measly serfs whose only purpose in existence was to be servants at the pleasure of the deities and the kings and whatever the overlords happen to be. But in the Israelite story that we just heard, it says that human beings, while being created beings like all other creatures, are nevertheless created in the divine image. So they have in them something of God's very own nature. And people have interpreted differently what this means throughout the ages, but it always means that there's a certain inborn dignity to every human being. This theme will continue throughout our reading of the Bible. That a lot of the laws of Israel and a lot of the prophetic utterances of Israel's prophets and a lot of what Jesus ends up saying is about respecting and protecting the inherent worth and dignity, the divine image of every human being.
Number two.
While human beings are created in the image of God, they also have this tendency towards destruction of themselves and destruction of other creatures. And this we see right in the beginning when the two sons of the first man, Cain and Abel, and Cain and Abel have different jobs. Cain is the agricultural worker, and Abel is the one that cares for livestock. And they both make an offering to God. Cain's offering is sort of sneered at by God, and Abel's offering is received, and Cain gets super jealous of his brother. And what does he do? He attacks his brother and kills him. It's fascinating that in telling the story of the origin of humanity in this way, the ancient Israelites are telling us that from the beginning, we've had this tendency towards being jealous, competitive, kind of looking over at the other plate and saying, oh, this guy's got more than me. Faith. So faith is really significant throughout the Bible, obviously. The best image for us is the story of Abraham. Abram is promised many, many offspring by God. Abram's already in his 70s when he receives his call. The years go by and the promise is not seemingly being fulfilled. And so if you look at the beginning of chapter 15, Abram voices his frustration with God and says, "O Lord, what will you give me? For I continue childless and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. This other guy who I'm not even related to is going to inherit all my stuff." And then God answers, "Nope. My promise will come true." And God tells him to look up. Look at all the stars and all the heavenly bodies up there. Try to count them. Your descendants are going to be more numerous than them. And he, Abraham, believed the Lord, and the Lord reckoned it to him as righteousness. This is going to get picked up by Paul, especially in Galatians and Romans. But the idea is that the sort of heroes in the Bible, like Abraham, are the ones who, although there is not necessarily much evidence for the promise that God has given them around them in the world that they see, they hold on, they continue, they persevere. Yeah, so those are the three things: the divine image, our tendency towards destruction, and the importance of faith in the midst of it all. So keep reading, and again, there are many reading helps out there. I've put some of them down there in the comments box. A really, really great and helpful resource comes to us from the Bible Project. They have these wonderful videos about themes, but also about stories in the Bible. They summarize them with these great illustrations, and they're really brief, to the point. And if you have any questions or any comments or want to share your experience so far, feel free to comment down there in the comments section. And thank you for walking this journey with me. And yeah, onward.